Live picks and roll on a Monday, and a good afternoon, everybody. Brace Sean Barnard. A lot to discuss in the world of sports. Oh, by the way, the epicenter of it all right here in Philadelphia with WrestleMania 40 and, of course, Monday Night Raw. Not done yet, so your timeline will still be filled up somewhat of wrestling takes. And Sixers with an unbelievable dub yesterday, even though it was against San Antonio Spurs. I thought it was a really good game, especially fourth quarter, overtime periods all the way through, and led by a Tyrese Maxey and what he was able to do for this team. We're going to talk a ton about that, get you up to date on anything and everything as far as the Sixers and their playoffs are concerned. 6 seeds still up, potentially for grabs, with 3 games left in the regular season for the Sixers. 4 games left for the Miami Heat, 3 games also for the Indiana Pacers. Oh, by the way, those 2 teams just played, and the Pacers beat the Miami Heat. Sean, how we doing? Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, doing well. There's been a lot going on in the basketball world. Obviously, March Madness and college basketball winding down with the final tonight. NBA kind of heating up and hitting its stride. So every game matters at this stage. And it was an electric game last night for the Sixers against the Spurs. I know some people will put a little bit of asterisk next to it that it should have been a better result against a pretty bad basketball team. But the bottom line is that Sixers team scrapped without Joel Embiid. They found a way to win, and we're seeing Tyrese Maxey grow into a star right before our eyes. So I'm still all in on the Sixers team. It's been a fun stretch, and I think it's only getting started.
3-point favorites going into that game. They won 133 to 126. I thought that they were not going to win that game. Fourth quarter, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't seem. It was like a 5-point, it was a 2-point swing or something like that, and there was a foul. I think they went up by 5, the Spurs, with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'm like, yeah, they're not going to win this game. And what they did is exactly what you said. I'm proud of what they showed us yesterday. The scrappiness, the grittiness, of course, Maxey flashiness, 52. But Batum played well. Kelly Oubre played well. Paul Reed had a tough assignment. I thought he did okay. Ricky Council, I know you're going to talk a ton, about him finally getting the run that he deserves. Hopefully more. But just again, from where this team is or where they were, and then going into every game's a must win. This is all playoff basketball from here on out. And it's been like that for the last 4 or 5 games. And you have the big man, you say, you know what? We're going to sit him out tonight. And I wasn't feeling that decision. I'm not in the rooms. I'm not a decision maker. So I could just go off of it as a average Joe type of fan here. And I'm saying, dude, like, we don't have time not to play Joel Embiid. If he can go, get him in there. But hey, look, guess what? The team backed up Nick Nurse and the coach's decision and came away with a huge victory on the road. I guess we'll start with Tyrese Maxey, 52 points. Oh, by the way, and a hell of a game by Nick Nurse, too. Hell of a game by Nick Nurse. 52 with Maxey. Take it away.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the points I brought up with Nick Nurse, that felt like a playoff win by him. The ATOs, the play that he drew up to get Maxey the game tire was just absolutely perfect. And then they had another opportunity where he drew up a play with 0.8 remaining with Kelly Oubre, got off a 3-pointer, a good look on an impressive cross-court pass. He did not knock that down, but still a testament to Nick Nurse. And that is kind of an advantage this Sixers team has that I don't think has been talked about enough, is what a great coach he is. But it is Tyrese Maxey that is the story. And what I thought was especially impressive about last night, for starters, let me just talk about how electric this is. That is his third 50-point performance this season. This year in the NBA, there's 3 guys to score 50 points 3 times in a game. That's Tyrese Maxey, that's Joel Embiid, and that's Devin Booker. This is the first time in NBA history that a team has had 2 players each with 3+ 50-point games, that being with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. He is growing up right in front of our eyes, and what I think about last night was especially impressive is he didn't really have it in the first half. He played fine. He played okay, but every look was tough for him. He was kind of scrapping to get to his spots. It was not one of those games where you could feel every shot was going in. He didn't shoot great from the perimeter last night. I know he's 1 for 7 going into the overtime period. I'll double check what that final number came into, but it was hard for him to get to his spots. And what I thought was especially cool is in that overtime period, he was hunting Victor Wembanyama on switches. This is a guy who's 7'5" with an 8-foot wingspan, with legitimate defensive player of the year buzz, leading the NBA in blocks, and Maxey's circling, saying, that's the matchup I want. And he did an awesome job finishing around the rim, using the rim as protection, got to his spots, and ultimately carried this team. It truly was a superstar performance from Tyrese Maxey. He continues to just get better and better, and I still think in the national stage, he's not talked about what a good player he has become.
Yeah, I think there's still that old vibe or the old school mentality on him, like, oh, he's got to earn his way and maybe catch some more attention. Because look, we just talked about this a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago with Damian Lillard, right? And like, I wasn't trying to be obtuse about it, but I just had a vibe about Damian Lillard that was completely wrong. When you
Yeah.
really break it down and you get into the actual stats and what you could really grab onto it or latch onto as far as an argument is concerned, as far as a conversation to make your point. And Maxey is now just like Mike Greenberg this morning. He's like, oh, he's the second best player on the team. Versus who? Who else are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Yeah.
Who are you? Who? What are you like? What?
He's
And
an
that's
all-star. Yeah.
yes, he's an all-star. Thank you. Like, what are you talking about, Greenberg? Obviously, he's a guy that hasn't watched any NBA basketball, and there's probably a lot of people out there that are like, wow, Maxey's a hell of a lot better than what I thought he was. But last night, yesterday, again, that's part of the reason why this team says, you know what, we can give Joel Embiid a night off because we got Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, and I had a cool memory pop across my feed last night. Shout out to David Esser, who's doing some good work over at Sports Betting Dime this time at this point in his life. But we had a cool moment back when I was full in on the Philly Sports Network train, where I got to interview Maxey. It was all virtual before the draft, because this being the primetime COVID, which obviously shut down the second half of his season and led up to a weird draft process. But me and David got to sit in that little Zoom room and interview Maxey. And he was off the charts, exactly how he is. Energetic, super humble, super talking about how much work he wants to put in, all the areas that he can get better, that he's a better shooter than numbers show. And then I look back at kind of my draft notes from that time, and I had top 50 NBA potential next to Tyrese Maxey's name. And I thought that was a hot take at the time. Turns out I undershot that he's already a top 50 NBA player. In fact, he's a top 24 player by the way that the All-Star numbers shake out, and him making that right now. He's the real deal. He is a guy that can absolutely carry it. And it's amazing that, I mean, no exaggeration, that he extended the championship window for the Sixers franchise. That if there was no Tyrese Maxey or him looking like the player that he is, it's pretty likely that we're staring down the barrel of a possible Joel Embiid trade request at this point in his career. That think about how dark the future would look if there was no Maxey for nights like that last night for them to lean on. Think about how Joel would be feeling in that case. So shout out to him. He's so important to this franchise in the short term, long term, and everything in between.
One more as far as Wemby and the defensive player of the year. The number has not moved. He's at plus 1,000. I think that's still a decent bet. I really do. I'm not telling you to put your life savings on it, but of course, at plus 1,000, you sprinkle a little pizza money. It's a nice little payday. You want to go a little bit more than that? I have no issues. I think I put 50 on it a week ago because he is catching the right buzz at the right time. And it's going to come down to the voters, as it always does. But I think going back into other sports, Blake Snell, there's been a couple other spots, a couple other players who have been up for awards in other leagues that have caught the right buzz, have come out on top. There's been times that it hasn't happened, but there has been plenty of other ones that I can go back to and say, yeah, that one worked out. I think that this could be the case here. Wemby, defensive player of the year. He's really shining right now. Now, you were a guy, if I'm not mistaken, like 2-3 weeks ago, you said Rudy Gobert, he is going to win it. Could very well be the case, and especially at minus 3,000. But I think at that time he was minus 5,000. Where do you stand now with only like 3 games left to play?
Yeah, I still don't think Wemby wins it, or nor does he deserve to, but I can hear out the argument. He's a special player. And to your point that I know that there are minds being changed, that like I know Ryan Russillo, for example, has been pretty open that he's voting for Wembanyama for defensive player of the year, that he does have his vote. And kind of where the difference is, for starters, he's leading the league in blocks, 3.4 per game that Wemby's producing. And beyond that, he's by far leading the league, and I can't find a way to quantify this, but on U-turns when you drive into the paint, of a guy driving in there saying, yeah, I want no part of testing that guy. And some of the blocks that he had, like he had one on KJ Martin last night where Wemby's hands were above the rim and he didn't even like leave his feet. He kind of went up on his tiptoes, blocked KJ Martin's shot, and it's like that dude didn't even jump. And KJ Martin is a very springy, athletic forward, a guy that can get up. So it's impressive stuff there. He's absolutely special. My pushback and why I say no is it hasn't quite translated to the team success that I hope to, that the Spurs are bottom 10 in just about every defensive metric still. And even with Wembanyama standing out, it just hasn't fully caught on or carried over to the rest of the team, I guess. I don't think that's necessarily a criticism of him. That's much more an indictment on the talent surrounding him, because he absolutely is special. And just to rattle off his stats from last night, he finished with 33 points, 18 rebounds, 6 assists, and 7 blocks for Wembanyama last night. He's the real deal. And from beyond 3-point, he shot 5 of 10 from 3, including a couple of step backs, side steps. He's absolutely the real deal. The rest of the NBA better hurry up, get their championships, get their MVPs, because this dude is coming.
Yeah, he's absolutely all NBA next year, first team. He's going to be a starter in the All-Star game. Just what I've seen throughout the course of this year, it's just been insane. I thought he would be as good as advertised. I think he's better. I really do. I think he's better. And 1 year in with Pop, get him a point guard. We'll see what he's able to do next year, but he's a ton of fun to watch. And I hope the Spurs are selling out that arena. I thought yesterday's crowd was pretty good for where these two teams are or where that team is, and coming down a home stretch on a Sunday against, of course, the Sixers without Joel Embiid. Maybe a little too much into detail on that one, but seemed like a packed house. So shout out to the Spurs fans there. Yeah, well, like I said, you can go back and look at the Blake Snell. That worked out. Yes, last year, as far as AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, Kobe Turner was the guy that was getting that late season push, late season buzz. He ended up getting some votes, but did not win the award. That, of course, went to Will Anderson. But it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, man, the value is there. Plus 1,000. Why not? So take a shot at it. We'll see what happens. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the 76ers and where they stand. They're currently in the 7th seed. Any probability, any percentages that would that caught your attention? I know before the weekend they were at like 18.4%, something like that, to reach the 6th seed. Where are they at right now with 3 games to go in your mind?
Yeah, so yesterday was a big game. Obviously, none of this kind of chatter matters unless the Sixers take care of business and win all their games throughout here, which they very likely should. Facing the Magic, the Nets, and the Pistons are their 3 remaining games for the Sixers. The Magic definitely the toughest matchup in there, but all those are winnable games in my mind. And as far as to dive into the percentages, I know I've brought these up pretty heavily, that according to Basketball Reference, still putting them at just a 16% chance for that 1-6 seed. So it didn't move it much for that number. I had a tough time figuring out who I was rooting for in that Pacers Heat game, because you could make an argument either way for which benefited the Sixers most. As it results, the Pacers did win that game. That puts them in 6th place and kind of the driver's seat for that matchup. They earned the head-to-head tiebreaker between the 3 teams, between the Pacers, Sixers, and Heat. So if they are all to end when the 82 games are over this season with the same record, the Pacers would get that 6th seed. And the Sixers and Heat each have, the Sixers and Pacers each have 3 games remaining. The Heat have 4 games remaining. So currently the Pacers hold the 6th seed, 17.5 games back. The Sixers with the Pacers with the 6th seed, Sixers with the 7th seed, a game back of the Pacers, and the Heat, the 8th seed, a half game back of the Sixers. So more or less last night, by the Sixers winning that, essentially decided that if they take care of business, they'll just have to win that one playing game in Philadelphia rather than having to travel down to Miami there. But they need the Pacers to kind of drop one from here on out, which the reason that I think it was a good thing that the Pacers won is I think they're more capable of that. And in their 3 games remaining, they'll play the Raptors, the Hawks, and the Cavs. So the Cavs probably the number 1 game the Sixers will be rooting for there. Still not in a great spot, but the door is not closed.
Yeah, not in a great spot, but still playing some good basketball. And teach their own. I think that 6th seed is game changing. Like, I think that this team actually has a legit shot at doing some serious damage if they can get into the 6th seed. If they don't, I just think they're going to be up, climbing up a hill, and it's going to be really tough. And who knows? They're playing with house money. They're definitely playing look like they're loose. And if Joel Embiid could come back and be Joel Embiid, I think he'll take the floor and probably be the best player on the court any given night. But it's still asking a lot. And oh, by the way, that week off, if we're sitting here giving Joel Embiid a night off when they got to win these games, they get an extra week off if they get the 6th seed. To me, that is so important. Again, it doesn't seem likely that it's going to happen, but crazier things have happened. So we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, and as far as the Joel Embiid conversation, I get not playing him on a back-to-back. My critique to the Sixers is I would have sat him against the Grizzlies, played him against the Spurs last night. And you can kind of have the philosophical difference here that The other way to look at it is make sure you're getting the win against the Grizzlies, who are the worst basketball team, rather than risking potentially going 0-2. Like if you were to play Joel and they lost to the Grizzlies, which should have never happened in a million years, but if that did, then you're opening the door to go 0-2 and putting yourself in a really bad spot. So I get kind of both sides of things, but that's how I would have handled it, was to sit them against the Grizzlies and play them last night. But the bottom line is the Sixers went 2-0, which is exactly what the goal was. As far as the seedings as a whole, I'm not as bullheaded on it mattering as I think you are in this, that if they were to have to be in that playing game, to me, it's only a big deal that you just have to take care of business and win that first one. That would likely put you with a matchup with the Milwaukee Bucks for the first round. And I'm okay with that. That I do think this Bucks team is very beatable. In fact, I very much feel like the stars are destined to align and make that the matchup with Doc Rivers, with Pat Bev, us never seeing kind of the Giannis and Embiid showdown in the playoffs yet in their careers. It feels like that is destined to happen. And again, the Bucks are 15-16 under Doc Rivers. That is a below 500 basketball team. If they are to sneak into that 6 seed, obviously even better if you can face either the Magic or the Cavs. I think there's a real chance the Sixers clean that one up in 5 or 6 in either one of those series there. But the other point to note there is at the top end of the bracket, the Magic just a game back of the Bucks. And as I've mentioned, the Bucks are slipping here. So maybe there is a world where that's even better if the Magic can climb to that 2 seed, the Sixers get the 7, win the play-in, and that's a first round matchup. So there is a path here, is kind of where all signs point.
Under 500 with Doc Rivers at the
Great.
helm, and he's holding team meetings over the weekend, and just hysterical the fact that all this is happening, and we don't know what's going to go on with that team as far as this season is concerned in the playoffs. But I'm with you. If the Sixers have to match up against them, I'm not worried one bit. Not worried one bit about Doc Rivers and the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Sixers. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, so let's keep it moving. Next game up for the Sixers against Detroit tomorrow. The NBA with the night off due to is it due to Monday Night Raw, or is it due to college basketball national championship?
Definitely national championship. And obviously, I guess giving a little bit of a favor to promote the college level and give everyone a chance to tune in on that. I don't necessarily agree with that decision, especially like the fact that the game starts at 9:20. Why not roll out a couple 7 o'clock games to give us a little appetizer to lead up to it? But kind of surprised they made that decision. But yeah, NBA taking a break tonight.
Yeah, I would love to see the stats and the ratings and all of that on this game being started at 9:20. I know it's been like that forever. And I'm pretty sure I complain every year a lot like everybody else out there.
Yep.
Like, I would love to see the numbers because, dude, like 10:30, 11 o'clock, who the hell's watching that? You're a diehard a college hoops fan if you're watching it. I know it's a national championship game, and I'm saying this out loud. Yeah, like, I think you would have a better number at 8:30 coming down the home stretch of the second half versus 10:30. I don't know. I'd love to see the breakdown on that, but those guys make the crazy money, so they know what they're doing a little bit better than I do. All right.
I do think they do overall, the college sport, not a great job of the promotion and scheduling. Like even the girls' national championship game was at 3 o'clock yesterday. It's like why not make that an 8 o'clock start or same thing? Like it just doesn't quite make sense to me. I get like there's a lot of hands in the pot and decisions and stuff that leads into this, but the bottom line is you should be making this as convenient as possible to watch. You want as many eyeballs as possible, and I think in both ways they kind of missed the mark here, going too early in the girls' game in the middle of the afternoon, and too late on the guys' name at 9 o'clock at night on a Monday night. Like, just doesn't seem ideal for anybody, but it is the same way every year. So I guess if it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Might be their mindset.
Staying in college hoops, the big story, of course, is John Calipari.
Oh yeah,
will be heading to Arkansas, which is a good deal because Kentucky doesn't have to fire him, so therefore they don't have to pay him $33 million. He's taking another gig. He's going on. And I think that's probably it's a great move for Arkansas, getting him in there. I think it's a good move for Kentucky too, as well, depending on who they get. But I would imagine that bar is pretty high, and they're only going to get the best of the best. So I thought that was a pretty good move for both sides. A win-win, dare I say.
Yeah, I'm surprised by it. I did not expect this by any means, and especially that kind of breaking the way it did the whispers coming out, and still not official numbers or any deal has been announced, at least that I have seen. I like Cal. I'm a John Calipari guy. I've been on record. I've called him a top 5 coach in college basketball and still feel that way, that I think like his track record is the real deal. And we've talked a lot about him needing to adjust kind of his style and his mindset for the recruitment. He's obviously a guy who kind of has been a trailblazer for the one and done era, a guy that's embraced it more so than anybody. And you can point to so much NBA success that it has led to for individual guys. But there is a critique that that's not translating to the team success that people desire. And I don't think you can dismiss how great it's been for guys. I think that's a part of the equation. But obviously, when you are a school and a college and a backer, all these things, that it is more important the results, the tournament success. And that hasn't been there of late. So I think for Calipari, this is a chance to kind of wipe his slate clean, change the way that he looks at things, and have a little bit of a different recruitment plan down there. And I do think people have been over the top critical because he's still been a very good coach, and Kentucky's still been a really solid team of late, even with, of course, losing to Oakland this year, some disappointing results throughout, all these things. But I do think his reputation has soured a little bit more than it should. And I think Arkansas is going to be a nice chance to rebuild that and prove why he is the elite coach that he is. So I'm excited to take on this new challenge, but very surprised that it all went down.
Purdue and UConn 6.5. You got to play.
I flip-flop back and forth. I lean toward
Ooh.
Purdue to cover. I do think UConn wins this game, but the 7 feels like a lot to me, and I can see Brace shaking the hands. I know that you do have the UConn future out. I can admit that I do as well, that I had leading up to the tournament, my game plan was I had 5 futures. I took 5 teams out to win it all. UConn, obviously, the lone remaining. None of my long shots. I know I had Creighton. Kentucky was actually one of mine. I forget who the other 2 were offhand. I'll have to look back at that. But UConn, of course, I do have. So that's my little insurance play. I think it's going to be a game tonight that I think this is going to be one that comes down to the wire. I do think Donovan Clingan is better equipped to match up with Zach Edey than really anyone else in the country. I do believe in him and is an NBA talent, a guy that I believe should be having top pick buzz at this point. And it's up to him to step up on the biggest stage. So I think we're going to get a game. And I think that 6.5 or 7 number is a little high.
All right. Yeah, we'll see. Look, it's right around that ballpark. That 7 is the ballpark number, of course, in hoops that we see quite often. And you look at it and you say, yeah, that's a big number, but very well UConn can win by double digits. And it's giving me the vibe of yesterday's game with Iowa and South Carolina. Like I'm sitting back, I'm going, man, it is a lot of points. And then at the end of the game, next thing you know, a couple free throws, a couple threes, and South Carolina, shout out Don Staley, wins another national championship. So pretty cool stuff. And even more shout out to her when she did give Caitlin Clark her props in that post-game speech. I thought that was tremendous.
Yeah, she's complete class act. And there was the other moment where watching the lead up to it when there was the LSU South Carolina game. This was before even the NCAA tournament, where there was a little fight between the teams, and Dawn Staley directly going out of her way to apologize to the basketball community for disrespecting the game. She just handles herself like the ultimate professional, an absolute, just like the way she carries herself is super admirable. So she deserves that moment. It was cool to see her kind of break down at the end of things there. And yeah, nothing but love for Dawn Staley in South Carolina. They were the better team, and they proved that yesterday.
All right, so back over to the NBA side of things again with the night off tomorrow night against the Detroit Pistons. We expect to see everybody all hands on deck, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Embiid will be back, and that last night's probably the last game we expect him to miss. He should play the final 3 from here.
So the Pacers are taking on the Raptors. They're 8.5 point spread or 8.5 point favorites. Sixers are 15-point favorites at home. And then the Miami Heat will be taking on the Atlanta Hawks, where they're 4-point road favorites. That's actually a good spot for Atlanta if they want to play the role of spoiler. What is your thoughts right now, a day out on that game?
Yeah, the Hawks have been a weird team. They're kind of landlocked into that 10 seed for the play-in tournament, so they don't have a ton to play in for this point, but they're still a team that really has not figured out their identity through the entire season. They are a team that can get hot enough to win a game. Murray's capable of carrying a team. Trae Young, we know what he's capable of doing at times. Jalen Johnson continues to play some really good basketball. So I'm not ruling out Atlanta from winning that game. That would put a ton of pressure off the Sixers because the Heat are still breathing down their neck for that final spot. As I mentioned, a half game back in the standings currently. So I don't hate the Hawks coming up with it. Not something that I'm confident enough to lay a wager or truly believe in it. That'll be a heart rooting for me, I think. I think my brain says the Heat still win that one, but I hope I'm wrong.
All right. Yeah, and that's all we can do at this point in time is just watch the scoreboards and see how this one plays out. But one more time for the people that might be just joining us, Sean. So if the playoffs, well, yeah, let's just go ahead and say these games, we close up shop. The Sixers, are they winning their remaining 3 games in your mind?
Yes, I do. I think they clean sweep from here.
Wow. So that means they would into the playoffs on a what, 6-0 run?
Yeah, more than that. I think that'd be 8-0, I believe.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
They would qualify as one of the hottest teams going in, if not the hottest team.
There should not be a team that's looking at the Sixers team wanting to play them right now. That they're playing good basketball. Like beyond just getting the results, it looks cleaner, it looks better, it looks sharper. I would argue they're playing the best basketball they have all year, and it's at exactly the right time.
Oh
We're
my
back.
God. This is terrible. I'm starting to believe.
We're back.
Oh, we are back. Yeah, it's not even a question. We are back 100%. We'll see again. So yeah, they have won. They won the 2 games before that. So this, if they do handle business and close out the season as far as on a winning streak, 8-0. And yeah, you're right. As far as the play-ins are concerned, I would totally have all the confidence. Yeah. So once again, pull this up here from the standpoint of the standings. The play-in games would feature us versus in
Miami.
Miami for the first game. And then the second game, or the other game, was what? The Hawks and the Bulls?
Yeah, so the Heat and Sixers would face off. The winner of that gets the 7 seed. Then the loser of that plays the winner of 9 and 10 game. And then the winner of that matchup will play the 8 seed. So assuming the Sixers take care of business, win the first one, regardless of whether it's at Miami or in Philadelphia, depending on who has the higher seed, looking likely it's in Philadelphia at that point, that team moves on, gets the 7 seed, which is, if you're in the play-in, that's definitely ideal. Avoiding the Celtics is crucial here. And Miami has been Boston's kryptonite. So I much would enjoy that shakeout being Sixers at 7, Heat at 8. That'd be my ideal situation if they're in the play-in, but obviously still hopeful that that door to the 6 seed opens.
All right. Sounds like another trip to the Duncan Lounge for a watch party to me.
Love it. Love it. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. If we're going to roll out some play-in action, we got to be live. There's no doubt in my mind we got to be live. Oh, it doesn't get any easier for us, but that's all right. We're there for the people and, of course, the Sixers as well. All right. Well, Sean, easy one for us today. We had to get together because of the weekend that just took place, but we'll be back at it tomorrow talking to all things NBA, full slate of games, and who knows, maybe even more wrestling talk coming our way tomorrow. You never know. Did you watch any of the WrestleMania?
I did not. I did not at all. I honestly, like, I did approach it with a bit more of an open mind. I tried to get into it. And honestly, if it was not like the Final Four being on Saturday, and then I got way more into that Sixers game than I expected to last night, that I could not flip it off at any point.
No.
And even after the game, I was riding high on that one. So I never ended up flipping on any WrestleMania, but I did catch plenty on the timeline.
I'm not a wrestling guy. Haven't watched wrestling in forever, but I watched both nights on Mania. Hell, I went to the first night. Watched both nights, and I won't watch Raw tonight. I'm good. I'm tapping out. Teach their own. Have fun. McAfee's still broadcasting live from the convention center where we were. Hey, like I said, knock yourself out. It's fun to be involved, but yeah, I'm ready to get back to things that aren't exactly scripted. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I told you. I know I sent a text to the group chat, but I got into the debate with my girlfriend last night whether WWE or reality television is more real, was the term that she used. So I was fighting the good fight for the WWE in that one.
Yeah, I think those like The Bachelor and all that are completely scripted.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think you're talking about producers that have been around the block for a long time.
Yeah.
Now at the same time, so was WWE. Like all that was written in there. You got John Cena running down, boom, boom. Everybody knew it. Like that's what everybody was talking about all week, was like this main event, the bloodline. You're gonna see all these great people come out and defend Cody. People didn't know who's gonna win the belt, but you know, it was there. It was pretty easy. I don't know. I think they could probably go hand in hand, right?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I do want to say this though, sitting home and watching it on the couch on television, there is something special about that product. The way that they shoot it, the graphics, you know, like that was the biggest thing to me. It's because Sean, I'm watching, right, and it's like, you know, you'll see these the people that run the camera for them at WrestleMania are so good, and like they would zoom in at the right time and bounce the camera with it, and it made it look different versus just an average hit. Like it takes a true team to make that thing look as polished as it is, different as it is, bigger than what it is. And you know, I think they deserve a ton of credit on that one. It is still a little crazy out there, you know. God bless them. I got no issues, but there was plenty of dudes walking around with title belts on their shoulders. Like, I dressed up as Ric Flair for a week. I was having fun with it. These guys are running around with belts like, yeah, like they won it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what is going on right now?
I was blown away. So I was in the studio for a lot of this weekend, had a little break, so ran out to get some lunch. Every dude I saw had on some sort of WrestleMania gear, and I was like that was an eye opener to me of like how big this thing is across Philadelphia, and very cool. It was cool to kind of be a part of that and kind of take it in this weekend for sure.
It's exactly what I said. If you're putting that in the middle of Philadelphia, I'm in. Like, let's go. I love my city, love the people that are in this city, and it brought a lot of people together. When I was leaving the link on Saturday, and I was walking out. Next thing I look over, and there's Kyle Pagan and his boy with that new podcast where they're out, man on the street style. I think it's called Men at Work or something like that. And I sat down with them and I go, I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot of black folk in this place. Like, it was 50-50. Like, there was like everybody coming together, wearing belts, wrestling fans from all backgrounds, all the states, all the countries that were represented, they said last night. Like, it brought everybody together. And for those 5 hours, I don't think anybody was talking politics. I don't think anybody was like, yelling at each other or anything. Like, you know what? People just were having fun. And, you don't see that happen too often. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of sports and entertainment right there. So yeah, throw that right in the mix, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, tell Maggie that The Bachelor ain't bringing everybody together, all right? Nice work. All right, hey, great stuff, Sean. We'll be back at it live tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Excellent job this weekend. Once again, picks and roll. If you miss anything, we'll have it up podcasted at foxphlgambler.com. We got the night off. Go UConn. We'll talk to you tomorrow.